Hello, Huskies, and welcome back to the My GVC podcast. Today, we will be talking with Nadia Richards from the Office of Anti-Racism, Equity, and Human Rights Services, also known as OAREHRS. Thank you for joining us today. I really look forward to know better about OAREHRS. Welcome, Nadia. How are you today?
I am fine, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. So in general, can you talk a little bit about what services are provided at OAREHRS now?
Okay, so we are responsible for the administration and implementation of the human rights and discrimination and harassment policy, the sexual assault and sexual violence policy, and the freedom of expression policy, which is supported by the resolution of complaints. And this is done through procedural fairness, transparency, and is also trauma-informed. We are AODA compliance, so Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act compliance. And we also have a portfolio that focuses on anti-racism. So we provide awareness and education, and with support of human rights services and complaints, we also facilitate informal resolution processes.
Okay, so I noticed on the website that there is an anti-racism action plan with a number of documents and tools available for everyone, right?
Yes.
So the primary includes tools for self-reflect, educate, rethink, identify, and engage. Why did you choose these categories as the primary steps?
Okay, so in the beginning of last summer, we wanted to develop a resource that would support individuals as well as groups in engaging on conversations around anti-racism. So we came up with the Take 5 for anti-racism. And that Take 5 breaks down those 5 steps that you've just mentioned to start to engage in anti-racism practice. So when we developed the anti-racism primer, we used the same framework so people could actually identify where they were at in their journey and begin to work in that area. So it's not necessarily a linear process that you might have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but sometimes someone might actually be at rethinking and then they would go back to self-reflecting. And with the actual primer, one of the important pieces that we had with those various categories is that we also wanted to use different forms of media to engage in. So there are films, there are books that we recommend, articles, short clips, and various assessment tools to support the conversation.
That sounds very interesting because in that sense, you can know in which part of the step or the process you are in, because maybe you can do it better. So I think it's amazing in that way, like there is not something like you need to follow. It's more something like you need to reflect about yourself. And in that case, you can motivate yourself and why not take the step to improve?
Absolutely. And what I think one of the important pieces is that everyone can do it. It doesn't matter at what level, what stage, what your identity is, we can all go through such a resource and learn from it.
That's, I think, the most important part. Since it's for everyone, I think we should be able to, all of us get there and just learn more about how to challenge yourself and get better.
Yes.
There is also mental health resources in the anti-racism section in the website. What is the intersection between mental health and racism? And what kind of resources are available for students?
That is a really good question. So what we know with regards to various racialized populations is that sometimes broaching the topic of mental health struggles or challenges, or even mental illness can be very problematic within a community. It's seen as taboo. So there is an important piece with regards to intersectionality that we need to acknowledge when ensuring that we provide those services. So it's important that we have them out there in the event that someone is unable to have that conversation at home and they need resources. So there is a very direct link with regards to the harms that individuals face and needing supports. For example, an individual may experience multiple microaggressions. So they may be subtle slights that are not, they may not even be intentional, where someone may say, oh, your English is good for someone from this particular country, or, you know, you're pretty for a individual. So these are microaggressions. And after a while of those microaggressions being compounded, it leads to racial trauma. And that racial trauma needs to be addressed. Individuals need to receive the care for healing. So that's why it was very important for us to provide those services online. Now, what is available for our students is that we do have counseling available at the college. And there is a diverse group of counselors that can speak to the needs of diverse individuals within the college. And this is the first step with regards to getting supports and services that you need if you're actually struggling. But again, if you check online, you can also access certain mental health resources that are specific to your particular community. And that is also important because there needs to be that connection. So yes, that is the connection between race and mental health.
And I think sometimes we don't talk that much about those microaggressions that you just mentioned that leads to, and like maybe with time in a long-term position, it's going to lead to some trouble with the person.
Yes.
So also I wanted to talk a little bit about, because now you mentioned about intersectionality, how you say
intersectionality.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I just read it. I was actually doing the e-learning course about anti-racism. And I think it's very important because to be sincere, I wasn't used to the word. Mm-hmm. So I think it's like very important to also start reading a little bit more, taking all the resources that we have to be knowledgeable about those things that it's very important nowadays.
Yes, and I think one of the important pieces with intersectionality is it allows us to understand the various identities that one individual may hold. It originates from Kimberly Crenshaw, who is a legal scholar in the United States, a Black woman who did work on Black women in the workplace and the multiple layers of oppression they may experience. But it allows us to actually have a lens to then say, this individual may have 4 different identities. How do they experience the world? That's totally, for me, like, I think the more I learn, the more I feel like we need to keep like learning and improve ourselves in those kind of subjects and matters as well. So under the 2S LGBTQIA plus sections, I noticed there is a chosen or preferred name changing process at George Brown. Can you explain how that works? Yes, so this process is done through the registrar's office, and you're expected to request the form there and complete that form with the required documentation in order to have your preferred name be the name that is mentioned on your transcript, your diploma, etc. And we as an office, we're actually in the process of building out our programming for the 2S LGBTQ community.
And talking a little bit more, so are there other resources for the queer community at George Brown College?
That's a very good question. So that is why we are working on the programming. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with the OAREHRS office, but before, I would say about a year and a half, it was a very small team of 3. We have now expanded to 9. There are more people in that office that specialize in human rights and issues surrounding 2S LGBTQ. So we are currently in the process of preparing to facilitate various focus group discussions with students to get more insights with regards to their needs and to build the programming that will be sustained through the OAREHRS office. So I will really suggest that our students look out for those flyers that will be coming in the next few weeks to participate in providing insights about the varying needs that are required to be met at the college through supports and services provided by the OAREHRS, because it is limited and we need to expand that.
So maybe you can start focus on the main things that for them is very important. So in that case, like you can start with that and maybe get even deeper later on, right?
Yes, and we're hoping to build a comprehensive plan that will allow us to aim for various goals throughout the year and to continually improve, not that it's just one thing and then we stop, but that we will continually support the 2S LGBTQ community.
So I saw that the sexual violence prevention section has some helpful resources and supports. So what can someone do if they have experienced sexual violence?
If someone has experienced sexual violence, one of the first things I would suggest they do is to, if they can find someone who they trust, to support them in that moment and to get any medical attention they may need, as well as if they need to file a police report, etc. However, at the OAREHRS office, what we do is provide support with a sexual violence advisor, Genevieve Weigel. Genevieve will complete the intake process as well as the process that is required to make a formal complaint. And that is very important in terms of us addressing any harms that happen at the college.
Okay, and addressing that, like, how can someone know that they are safe to report a sexual assault?
Yes, there is no reprisal. Okay. So what this means is that there should be no type of retaliation on the individual if they have made a complaint. And if they choose to be anonymous in that process, that is also a possibility. And it is very important for them to connect with our sexual violence advisor, who in fact is a trained social worker in this particular area and uses a trauma-informed lens to assist them through the process. So we do encourage students or staff to come to us if they have experienced some form of sexual violence, to meet with Genevieve Weigel and to start that process, if that is the step that they choose to take.
Perfect. I think it's very important to highlight that in our college, most of the time, the resources that we have, like, it's a safe space for us, like as a student,
yes,
as staff members, I think everyone, it's a safe space for us.
Yes, and there's another piece that I would like to add. So of course, we've been working on the reactive side in terms of if someone experiences sexual harm. However, in this moment, we're actually, the posting has been out for a gender and sexual violence education coordinator. And the reason for that is that we want to also prevent harm. So by providing education on consent, for example, can reduce the level of harm that may happen at the college, because some individuals may actually realize that if I do this, this is harmful. So we want to provide the education that is required to support prevention. And we're hopeful that that will also mitigate the risk around sexual violence.
They totally should. Since like the people, when you know, like, okay, I'm not doing this in the correct way, I'm doing this in the wrong, maybe that can lead to someone like feels bad. So I think it's very important nowadays to have that in mind. And more, if you, as you said, I think prevention is the key.
Yes.
So finally, I heard that this week OAREHRS just launched a new course called Doing the Work, an Introduction to Anti-Racism. Can you talk about this course, what involved, and why all students should take it? And I will here just do a little bit of my part that I did it. And I think it's, as I mentioned before, it's amazing because sometimes we don't know some words, or maybe we don't know some concepts that it's really important to know. And in that case, you're going to have more tools on how to approach the people, how to do it in a better way, because sometimes maybe you have the best of the behaviors to do it in the correct way, but maybe you are not doing it. So I think this course, it's amazing. I'm very grateful that I took it, and now I will pass it just to you.
Okay, well, thank you. I am very happy that you are happy with the course. And just to give you some insight with regards to why we wanted to do this, is that we did not have any type of course that was asynchronous in terms of the individual doing it on their own, self-directed, where both students and staff are doing the same content. So what it means is that the terminologies, the concepts, the scenarios, both students and staff are doing it at the same time, learning the information. So this provides us with a baseline that we can start from, that we know that we have provided a certain level of information out there for the GBC community to get educated on this topic. And what was important for us in doing this course was, one, for us to explain what is race, to explain what is racism, what are the types and the forms of racism, also understanding social location, power, privilege, white supremacy, what does that look like? And then looping it back to, so now that you understand these main terminologies, what is anti-racism practice and what does that look like at our college? So we wanted to ensure that we developed something that was suitable for all of the community, and that it will help us to begin to have a conversation and to make the right decisions, or at the very least, know where we need to go if we need to have a discussion with someone and to get more help regarding that topic.
That's true. I really encourage to everyone that is listening to us to take the time and to take like the course. It's really important. And I think it's very, when we have these tools and these resources, use it in a proper way. So I think it's amazing. So thank you so much for talking about this with me today. And thank you all for your work that you do in the Office of Anti-Racism, Equity, and Human Rights Services.
Thank you so much for having us, or me.
Students, if you want to know more or require supports, you can find it at the link in our show notes. I hope this episode has been eye-opening and helpful for you today. We look forward to bringing you more helpful information about the topics that affect you at college. Until then, have a great week.